Menteri Rang ba ka jilla Konrad ke sangma ha ka sngi balang ula Plie pa iba ya ka project ka bakraw tam jong ka jilla ka Shillong Technology Park ha Sauli New Shillong haringkat ka jingadon lang Menteri ka tanat Information Technology and Communication ba Hamlet Dolling madru Menteri ka tanat PHE ba Renekton Lengdo ha ba kren ha ka ne ka sngi Menteri Rang ba ulaong ba ka Shillong Technology Park kadai kawai ne kilai spa atli ki project jong ke sarkar jela ka bon Plie ha uni u araja ar pu ar kum shibenta ka jingra ke ka jingdap san post nem jong ke jingyo yala ka jong ke jela haba kren pat halor ka yo kam yo jam Menteri Rang ba ulaong baha ka kala ka banungkong jong ka technology park kan sa ai kam ya kumba khatan spa ngut ki breu henry la antat bakan pen mentoi pat sa kumba laisha na ka te bakin sa yo kam yo jam.
I personally have been looking forward to and thinking about for the past 12 years, 13 years now. And this is something that people have been talking about for the past 20 years. And every time you read a proposal or a report from NASSCOM, they will always say and talk about the human resource that the Northeast has and the potential that the Northeast has in terms of the ITES sector. And so to be very, very frank and blunt with you, we are actually 20 years behind. This should have happened 20 years back. And we would have been able to take a huge advantage of it. But nonetheless, it's never too late. We realize that in the IT sector, the fact that the human resource is a very, very obviously critical part. All companies would like to ensure that they are able to connect and get the manpower at a much more larger scale and at a reasonable cost. And that is where this IT park plays an important role. So we have all our individuals, our youth going to Bangalore, to Bombay, and to other large metros where the cost of living is much higher, where the real estate cost is much higher, and obviously it leads to the employment aspect also creating and becoming higher. So therefore, this coming into the picture is going to help most of the companies cut their cost by a huge amount. So that's the number one factor that we have to remember. The second factor, why this is important, is because this location here will allow the companies to have a plug-and-play model. Now we have to realize that companies don't have time to spend a year or 2 years to build up their building and create the infrastructure and then start the project. They need ready-made infrastructure. They need to be able to start tomorrow because they get their contract for 6 months, for 1 year, and therefore a place where they can come in and plug and play is ideal for them. Another very important aspect is that we have started the Shillong airport. And the Shillong airport is another aspect because connectivity is an important issue when it comes to IT companies. No CEO of big company would want to travel for 2 hours, 3 hours by road. They want direct connectivity to the location. And therefore the airport is very close from here. And once we have the roads which are under construction, we will actually be able to bypass the entire Shillong city traffic and reach the airport from here in a matter of just minutes. And the fourth aspect which we have is we also are going to have the helipad out here. So the heliport is going to be in this land itself, and we are giving about 5 to 10 acres to transport department to put up a heliport or helipad out here. So obviously that again is another area because we really need to think 20 years down the line. We need the kind of infrastructure that will allow easy access to this location, will be an incentive for people to come and invest and start their projects out here. And the last and the most important aspect for the ecosystem for the BPO industry to grow is accommodation. And as was being mentioned by the Honorable Minister, that there are big projects like the Crowborough project which has been not completed for 3 decades. I'm happy to tell you that we will be completing it this year. So we are actually in the process. Taj Group has taken over that project, and we expect that by April to May, we are expecting it to be functional or at least completed. We're also expecting the Marriott Hotel to be completed. So once we have these 5-star units out here and hotels and accommodation, this is another area which is important for the BPO sector to flourish. So it's not just having an IT park, it's having the connectivity to it, it's having the manpower out here, it's having the airport connectivity, it's having the 5-star accommodations. All these aspects are very, very critical to make sure that the ecosystem for the IT sector and the BPO sector is there. Now that the submarine cables have landed in Chittagong, we are working very hard with Government of India and with the Government of Bangladesh to get those submarine cables connected up to Shillong. That again, as I said, is going to be a big game changer. And in order to see this industry and this sector grow to the heights that we envision and to take it forward, we will need the submarine cables, because we're right now connecting all the way to Bombay or to Chennai. And I think the cost and the speed is compromised in those aspects. So when it is right here below us, about 500-600 kilometers away, it would make a lot of sense to land the submarine cables right here in this IT park. And that's really one of the big challenges we have, but I'm sure that we'll be able to take it forward. So this is really why this IT park is a very, very important starting point, I should say, which will really completely change the IT scenario in the state. And obviously what it will do is going to create a huge employment for our youth. Now we have to remember that Meghalaya is going to add 50,000 youths every year to the workforce. 50,000. And this trend, because of the population growth, is going to continue for the next 15 years, 20 years. So therefore, as a government, we need to plan for this in the next 5-10 years, what's going to happen. We can't wait for the next 5-10 years to see that there's a large-scale unemployment. So therefore, when we have this, there's going to be 1,500 direct employment. That's direct employment here itself, and which we have already heard, the companies are already coming in. But we have to also realize that we are creating huge indirect employment. When we have people working here, there will be food that will be required, transportation that will be required, there will be recruitment that will be required. So you need companies, people that have to stay in hostels, people have to need accommodation. So there is going to be direct, indirect employment of maybe close to 4,000, 5,000 people just by this one IT park. So therefore, it's a huge source of employment. And as mentioned, our people have a natural instinct to it because of the language proficiency we have, and also in terms of the attitude and the aptitude that our people have towards this. So therefore, I strongly feel that this is going to be a great area for creation of direct employment and indirect employment also.